Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Clover. So today I'm going to be speaking about some anime, of course, because like I said before, when it comes to talking about anime, generally speaking, it just takes me like a damn lifetime to talk about anime, regardless of what, if it's a show, an OVA, a movie, or just some kind of specific topic for this. But it takes me forever. I'm trying to make an effort here, really. So I'll be talking about Sailor Moon Supers, which is the fourth season of the franchise of Sailor Moon. So I just thought I'd talk about this since I did cover the three seasons prior to this, I guess you can say. So here we are, I suppose. And yes, of course, I'm referring to the bastard version of the show. So, which was covered by this company. If this looks familiar, because that's because it is. They covered the third season, of course. So here we are again. Let's just start talking about it. And I'm trying to be more frequent with this in some ways, I guess, because of the fact I know I've taken a long time to cover the third season. It took and the second season, of course. And yeah, just talk about the second season. It's like a year apart, really. And then it even took me a while to talk about the third season. So I just thought it was not that long ago, actually, when I did that. So I just thought, okay, let's hop onto it, I guess. The fourth season, even though it's the severely edited version of the show. And even though it may be in some aspects, like I was saying in the previous video, there might be relaxed to some extent in some ways, but it still felt like they heavily butchered it, really. And compared to the company Deke, which a lot of people are more familiar with, that version, really. But nonetheless, I just thought I'd cover this because of the fact that I like anime. Even though I'm giving this show the hard time because they butchered it, like you just said. Which, yes, actually does bring me to my next problem when it comes to reviewing this because I was a bit hesitant on doing it. Because, I mean, what else am I supposed to say here? I just feel like I'm just going to be repeating the exact same thing again and again and again and again and again and again and then again. It's just the same basic complaints I've mentioned before in the previous three seasons. I mean, of course, they're going to just wreck it because, yes, a part of it is because of the fact that it's a culture thing, obviously. That's a part of it, sure. Just, I mean, among other things, among many other things, obviously. So there's that. I mean, you have to consider that in some ways, I suppose. Like, okay, like, what else am I supposed to say here, really? Exactly. And yeah, I mean, of course, I'm going to do my best to just bring up some perspective on this. And yes, obviously, you do have to consider the fact that you have to look at the point of view from the people who grew up with this version. There's no excuse. It's still terrible. It's a really god awful show. Even this version, it's just like, how do you still mess up? This is the fourth season of the series, and you still mess it up. It just seems like incompetency on the people who released this version in the United States. And you think they would have learned by now. You think they would have just fixed up the mistakes. I mean, yes, the Japanese version was released years later, but by that time, when they were released on Blu-ray and DVD or whatever, a lot of these individuals who grew up with this were already adults, so they already have a fixed opinion on the show. I'm still haven't gone over how bad the previous version of the show was. Like, for example, according to the dub version, Queen Serenity pretty much was under attack. Like, these enemy forces was like really powerful or whatever, and they were attacking the this kingdom. According to the opening, that the Sailor Scouts were pretty much sent to Earth because it takes place in the future or whatever. And I mean, yet the whole future thing was still a thing even in the fourth series. And basically, the Sailor Scouts was sent by Queen Serenity, who was actually Sailor Moon at the time. So I guess she sent herself to the past, I guess. And along with the Sailor Scouts, to pretty much be reborn in the past, even though despite the fact that they were born in the future, but they were sent in the past because of the enemies, and they had to pretty much take care of the bad guys, the villains in the. And then, like, wouldn't this mean that this would have made an alternate timeline? Because the answer is yes, because things would have been changed. And then, like, this is where Sailor Moon and the others would have been reunited and just made a brand new life, a brand new family, a brand new set of friends, I guess you can say. Because they'd be going to school. Why does their memories have to be completely wiped? Yeah, the memories were completely wiped because of all this. Because they were sent to the past, because they're from the future, but that future will no longer exist because it was sent here. So, which will make the entire opening of this just completely pointless because wouldn't that mean everything would have been rewritten? But I'm supposed to remember the fact that Sailor Moon is Queen Serenity in the future, but that future won't exist anymore because of the fact that she was sent to the past to be reborn, to start a new life, to start a new family, and then this would also imply the fact that none of the Sailor Scouts actually remember each other, which just implies the fact that they will have to get to know each other all over again and trust each other all over again and start this entire thing all over again and just okay. But wouldn't that mean that they would never have these experiences to begin with, even though they technically did? Referring to the future, of course, the future events, they would never experience that, like at all. But then the cat Luna and Artemis are from that very future too, and they're supposed to convince them, the Sailor Scouts, Sailor Moon, the leader, that that's their future. But how are they supposed to convince them that that happened when their memories and everything else, basically literally everything, has been pretty much wiped out of existence because of the fact that this entire thing was just redone? And how is it supposed to trigger that memory if it's just uh,
Bang, bang, I'm losing it! Bun down, shoe, mustard, pen, bun now! Mr. Krabs, I am so confused.
can I just talk about my Halloween stuff instead? Because I had so much fun with that. Ugh. Hey boy, just this the script here needs so much reworking. It's terrible. The script for this version it's just awful because the thing is that it's supposed to be built upon on what was already established previously. And what was established previously is bad. So because of the fact that this is a direct sequel to that one I just mentioned, to the previous versions. Oh boy. I mean the animation is nice, but I can't really give that credit to the American version because it was originally in Japanese. So there's that I guess. I don't know. Whatever. It's just the entire thing here is just really confusing and whatnot. And yes, there deals with the future stuff in this one as well when you think about it. It's just riddled with plot holes, inconsistencies, terrible dialogue. Just the general characterizations seems pretty bad, I suppose. And there's quite a bit that was left out, obviously, from the actual version of the show. And then, okay, well, wait, what? Okay. What the hell? Mr. Monkey! You're taking somebody's money, aren't you? Yeah, you're taking somebody's money. You're a prick. Arrgh. I'm like 9 minutes into this video, and I still haven't spoken about the plot, the general plot of the show, I guess you can say. So I guess I better get to it already and just, I don't know, just get this over with, I suppose. Which I really don't want to because it's terrible. As you can see, I'm disappointed. And of course, as usual, let's get into the plot, shall we? So of course, this is supposed to be an adaptation of the manga series by the same name, Sailor Moon S, and it was later named Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon Supers. And that's the thing, though. It adapts the dream arc of the manga series, and it follows the adventures of Sagi, I mean, Serena, and her friends who are Sailor Scouts, even though in the Japanese version they were titled Super Sailor Guardians, but whatever. The series was divided into two story arcs. The first arc for the 22 episode depicts this character named Pegasus entering Chibi Moon's dreams to free the from the Amazon trio. The Amazon trio, these minions of the Dead Moon Circus, and they pretty much trying to do their crazy, wicked things. These individuals all bad, of course. And yeah, of course, there's gonna be a main head boss, and of course, there's gonna be minions, obviously. These individuals are attempting to steal the legendary Golden Questor from him, Pegasus' character. So there's that, and then he's pretty much trying to follow this kind of a thing, obviously. This series originally began broadcasting on Japanese television on March 4th of 1995, but then ended in March 2nd of the next year, 96. A licensed version by the one company I mentioned. Yes, I'm referring to this company, by the way. They pretty much broadcast this. They had their own production. They had their English dubbed version that was broadcasted in North America in 2000 to 2001. The series was later broadcasted in white TV in Canada and on Cartoon Network's Toonami broadcasting block in the United States. So, yes, it was the last season to be licensed by the one company. And yeah, that definitely happened, folks. I mean, yes, later on, the edited versions didn't make it into the VHS tapes, and then the unedited versions were later released onto DVDs, which I'm not going to be discussing. I'm just talking about the edited versions that did appear on Cartoon Network. That's what I'm going to be focusing on here, obviously. Yes, of course, Sailor Moon and Sailor Scouts are going to be trying to live their lives the best they could, of course. Now with Chibi Moon in the picture because she appeared in the third season, so they pretty much have to deal with her in this fourth season, Sailor Moon Supers, and trying to live their lives the best they could. Despite the fact they have to face off brand new enemies in this season, which again is fourth season content. So obviously they're going to do their best. They'll go to school and whatnot, and just take care of whatever they have to take care of course. So anyway, that was basically what's done here with these characters and just basically trying to show the whole thing with Pegasus and Chibi Moon. Chibi Moon and Pegasus will have an importance in the story this time around for this season. And obviously, there's going to be these characters to try to do the right thing. Sailor Moon and the other Sailor Scouts, they just want to make sure that the Earth is saved and make sure the criminals are punished for what they had done. All that jazz. That aspect of the show did remain, of course. It's just that in the nitty gritty, a lot of it was, of course, altered for various reasons, as I mentioned in the other versions of the previous seasons, of course. I mean, granted, yes, the general idea has been kept. The overall premise is still here. Yes, that's true. That's what I'm trying to get at. The overall plot, the overall premise, the general consensus here is still intact. Yes. But again, it's just the nitty gritty that was changed. The details that was altered, thus making this entire thing seem needlessly convoluted than it should be. Which, yes, is kind of bizarre when you think about it because a lot of these changes did not need to happen, like at all, but for whatever reason, they just felt like it should be. So, like I said before, this is the version that a lot of people grew up with. And as far as they're concerned, this is the actual version, which in reality, it really isn't. Yes, I know I'm giving this series a lot of shit, despite the fact I do enjoy Sailor Moon. I know it doesn't seem like it, I don't. But of course, I'm going to prefer the Japanese version over this slock any day of the week. Because, as mentioned a moment ago, the general consensus is here, yes, but it just seems convoluted. It's so needlessly complicated. Like, it's just what the hell? This is so stupid. Yeah, I like how Supergirl made it to Earth because she was in a pod like Superman did, and that's cool. And of course, I had to bring up Wonder Woman because of the fact that Sailor Moon did get some inspiration from the DC Comics, so that's interesting. And but the thing is that if I was going to write my own story here, I think I would use a book of spells as a way to send Chibi Moon back in time. Really, what I'm referring to, at least due to my regulations, it was never explained on how exactly the Chibi Moon was sent back in time. or the other scouts for that example. It was what I'm referring to is like the thing I've suggested in the other video, how they could have just fixed up a lot of stuff here. Because of the fact that maybe somebody in the future, maybe one of the scouts or somebody that's friends with them could have used a spell to send it back to the past, and said spell book would have been destroyed so that nobody else would have used it, because it could prevent someone else from going to the future or to the past at some point or what have you, so that they won't use it for like evil, wicked deeds and whatnot. And yeah, so the whole idea of interfering into the past too much can negatively affect it. Like the whole thing of the Back to the Future said with Doc and Marty and all that. So of course that comes into play, obviously, which was never really expressed in this version, by the way, of the show. I mean, I've watched terrible, awful shows before, so I guess this is nothing new, really. Just terrible writing, or even reality shows. I don't like this. I've seen really bad reality shows as well, which I tend to not like, really. But either way, it's terrible, I guess you can say. Even with this scripted stuff, I tend not to like it, really, like, at all. But when it comes to just watching garbage as TV format, is nothing new for me, folks. I tend not to do this too often, really, talk about it on YouTube, I mean, because at some point it just feels like it's a damn chore to go through bad episode after bad episode after bad episode after bad episode. Ugh. It just gets exhausting. I mean, there's quite a few bad shows I have to sit through, and just, nah. But anyways, just going back to what I was saying is that it's just that it should have been, like I said in my previous video, that it should have been like its own separate thing, kind of like a spinoff or like a mini series that's attached to the mainline stuff, kind of like what Star Wars had done before, and one, or maybe short movies or whatever. I don't know. There's a bunch of ways they could have done this, actually. So if you insist on having Chibi Moon be playing an important role, sure, fine. It's just how I would, going back, I was referring to before, is like there's a dark future where the Shadow Scouts were betrayed, and why it has something to do with the government, because obviously, like people like Kevin Swanson or E.W. Jackson, those right wingers, I guess you can call them, had pretty much taken over the government and had military might on their side because God's the only way. And let's just say, just like the Jedi, the Shadow Scouts have their own temples and whatnot. But unfortunately, in this reality, they get raided by the military as they be approaching. They'd be just trying to do the right thing. But the thing is that just the fact that the Shadow Scouts and the schools, I guess you can say, support the LGBT plus community. And I know in my previous video I said this could have been Sailor Jupiter doing this, but let's just say tweak that a bit. We're gonna have Sereni doing this because she's the one queen or whatever. I just want to teach the students how to do some of the things in the school, but in this temple, I guess you can call it, gets raided by these individuals, and of course, obviously, there's gonna be a hate group that's gonna have its own leader, the head monster, so to speak, and Chibi Moon's just gonna watch slaughter from a distance. Of course, seeing this like horrific stuff that's going on, and she doesn't like it. I know, of course, the whole idea of PSD, share shock, whatever you call it, she develops that as a result as the Shadow Scouts get gunned down because the enemy is far too powerful. In this case, it's like a terrible dark future, and throughout the season 3 and 4, she keeps getting flashbacks to this. And she's wondering why. She's wondering why this guy, and she will see the this woman gunned down pretty much right in front of her. But the the other Shadow Scouts would have got word of this, and yet they've been betrayed by their own government because the government is supposed to be helping everybody out. But yeah, it's going to be like an act of revenge as a reference to World War II because of what that Japanese had done during that period of time. And yes, obviously, somebody could be playing Puppet Master, like Palpatine in the Days of Star Wars. You can play that into here in some kind of way. At this point, the Scouts would just realize the bad people, they've gone in too deep. It's way too late to actually just, oh, it's just a few bad politicians. No, 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 it's not in that case. It's a way too many in this case. It's gone way out of hand. So obviously, the way that Japan should be is now getting ruined, so to speak. And the Shadow Scouts, or at least the Shadow Scouts in the future anyway, are way too weakened by because of this. They're getting just slaughtered like left and right. Even though they think they might have gotten the upper hand because they're trying to do like those sneak attacks. Maybe they got a few tricks up the sleeves, but in reality, nope. Just the bad people, so to speak, just gunned them down because they are a few steps ahead of them because they've all planned this ahead of time. They were all really sneaky about it, of course. I gotta really make this dramatic and just chibi mode. Just keep wondering how is it that she keeps having these flashbacks. I mean, I guess flashbacks to the future, I should say, however you want to word that. She keeps thinking about this. It just keeps coming to mind, like what's going on. Maybe there's a family member in the past that she needs to get rid of. Maybe to prevent this. Chibi Moon had done enough research on this to know who that is. But of course, she has friends in the future, obviously, and they could whoever this friend or friends could try to assist her in some ways, of course. But obviously, it's gonna be easier said than done. And like I said, there could be somebody that could help her out with this said Sparrow book, and she could try to use it. And as she's using it, this said individual could like I don't know, trying to stop the person from attacking him because if somebody is attacking him while she's trying to use it at the same time, that be gets sent to the past. And just you're trying to use this as a way to explain as to why and how she would do this kind of a thing, give more of an explanation this as to this kind of a thing would exist in the confines of the story. And obviously, if she succeeds in doing so, to prevent this dark future. And I mean, yes, little kids could actually get killed off. Yeah, make this really going to be. And yeah, this would make it really dark. I know. And that's the thing. That's the version of this show avoids doing that. Avoids getting too dark. It feels way too lighthearted, if you ask me. And even when it does get dark, it seems like it dimmed down a little bit. But like I was saying, if you absolutely positively have to have her as the important part of the story, fine, fine, okay, we can do that. Let's work around that to actually improve the show. Like I said, this should have been like a spin-off or something. I don't know, like a mini series maybe, a few OVAs, I guess. Maybe like five of them, maybe. They're gonna be all short, I guess. Maybe all of which can be like 45 minutes each. I don't know. Leading up to the major events, I guess. I don't know. It's gonna be part of the TV show, I guess, in some kind of fashion. I don't know. Just again, just me throwing suggestions there on how they could have fixed it. Actually, just throwing some suggestions here. I mean, I don't want to get too much on this because those other aspects of the show I want to talk about really. Even though I feel like I'm repeating myself, like I said earlier, but here we are again. And what was the one game called? Oh yes, Cyberpunk 77. I know they were trying to do like a what if scenario where it's like they're trying to. What I'm trying to say is that World War Three, pretty much. Like there could be a very possibility of occurring in the version I said it. I could have been here, folks. Just trying to make it seem like okay, the stakes are really high here. Pretty much, yeah, trying to basically prevent World War Three from actually occurring, so that because the Japanese could have like want revenge, kind of a deal, kind of a thing. At least the corrupted Japanese officials, not the citizens themselves. And it's just how to make just a thing, a separation kind of a thing there, just so you know. So yeah, quite a bit of conflict going on here. So kind of like an alternate reality kind of a thing. This could have been interesting if done properly, obviously. It's just that this company really screwed things up. This ultimately what I'm trying to say is that, folks. It just seems like a really incoherent mess. I was created here, ultimately. I did not like what they did. Of course, the dubbing here wasn't particularly great, really. The dubbing is pretty bad. What the hell? Mr. Monkey! I thought I'd tell you you should get a job. Why are you doing slacking around? I don't get it. You're a damn slacker. Just go and get. Just go and get. I'm trying to talk about this garbage here. Really. Anyway, like I was trying to say is that it just seems completely unnecessary that this was actually done. Yes, I realize that, like I said quite a few times already, I do realize that this version is what a lot of people grew up with. A lot of people have like nostalgia feelings about this because it brings some comfort and whatnot because it's something they grew up with. It reminds them of their childhood, of a much simpler time, but life is more complicated because they have responsibilities. Like you have to take care of rent, you have to take care of some bills, whatnot. Maybe you have credit card debt now, but back then when you were a little kid, you didn't have none of this. None of this was just non-existent, pretty much. And that just seems like ridiculous to praise this version just because it makes you feel good. Come on now. I don't know, just something about having nostalgic feelings about a song terrible show, or at least a terrible version of a show, just seems ridiculous when you think about it. Just trying to get, I know a lot of people out there trying to give this version of the show a lot of praise because they remember it from their childhood. And a lot of people actually want this version to be released on Blu-ray just so they can watch it over and over again. And completely ignoring the fact that the actual Japanese version was actually eventually released onto Blu-ray. Yeah, now they do it. I mean, it took them like forever to actually do that. It took them several years actually, which is pretty bad marketing on their part, but whatever. But yeah, the people who did release the Japanese version took them a long, long time. Just to make this a bit clear, is that it took them forever to do so, unfortunately. But that happened. It took them quite a long time to do so. Yeah, also the lettering was also altered, obviously, which seems odd when you think about it. So, okay, there were even other situations like this, like words were completely removed from the screen itself. The scene, the images, the lettering was completely removed. Like you might say one thing, but then in the other version, it would just be completely removed. And then, and also, the scene itself maybe also shortened, maybe about a couple of seconds or a few seconds, if not removed entirely. Yeah, that seems like it'd be like a common practice when it comes to these kinds of scenes. So we either remove completely or just shorten by some seconds. It was shortened like that. And then, what the hell? Mr. Monkey, let the cat alone. Hey, Rocky's not doing nothing to you. He's just minding his own business like you should. Oh, boy. I'm just trying to talk about how this stuff is censored, or in one way or another. Oh, boy. Let the cat alone. All right? All right, Mr. Monkey? God damn it. I mean, you're a pain in the ass, you know that, right? Anyway, as I was saying, yeah, there's that. And then those specific meanings of certain scenes that would be changed very often, of course. And yes, you could go back to the cultural aspects of it. In most cases, is that the lines in the dub version are maybe shortened as well, or maybe modified of the footage. That were also done as a result of that. A scene might have actually an entire different meaning behind it than the exact same scene from the original, or just altered, or what have you. Because the line of dialogue was changed slightly or just completely, which of course does happen. And it goes into the whole thing with the languages, like the kanji I just mentioned in the previous video. Was that like certain words that might have some specifications behind them in the Japanese one than compared to the American one? So give me a break here, will you? Come on. What the hell? Mr. Monkey, stop slacking off. I thought you were supposed to find work. And you're just slacking off here. Oh boy, and you're spazzing out. Okay, you're just spazzing out. Alright, whatever. You're a weirdo. You're a damn weirdo. Anyway. A common thing throughout the series is that they have these images on top of the scenes themselves, as if we have some sort of transition into the next scene or whatnot, which does look kind of bizarre. These kind of images would just come out of nowhere and whatnot. So don't understand this. It seems like an odd editing choice from the American standpoint in the Americanization, I guess you can call them. I guess, but okay. Yeah, this censorship was very inconsistent. How is that one thing was accepted but not the other? Lingerie is a step too far, but we can see a lot of their legs in their swimsuits and whatnot. Oh boy, I would have so done a Days of Future Past kind of a thing here, like I was referring to earlier. Oh boy, yeah, that would have been cool if done properly, I guess. And what the hell, Mr. Monkey? It's my food. That's supposed to be for Elvis and I. Hey, okay, you're not listening. All right, there. So okay, good thing Elvis is there. So here we go. Ha 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 ha.
Fuck you, asshole!
So, okay, hold on, moment here. For the American television, you mean to tell me stuff like this was actually perfectly okay? This was allowed, and no one bats an eye. Like how those little kids could be under severe pressure to look a specific kind of way. Yeah, oh yeah, no big deal. Let's do that. Sure, whatever. But then for an anime kind of a thing, you can't have two women locking lips, and this is somehow an evil thing. Like it's censored. Okay, and so you mean to tell me that some cleavage was allowed, but then if you want Sailor Moon to be smooching with another woman, you can't have that though. Okay. What? And then you mean to tell me that a lot of leg can be shown, but then you can turn around and censor the Japanese letters, the kanji and all that. You can't have that. What? Again, very inconsistent with the censorship. I don't know what's going on with this company. I don't get it. It makes no sense. I mean, they're still really restrictive in a lot of ways, of course, but in other ways, we're also inconsistent with certain things that be allowed to slide and not. I don't get it. I'm so confused here. Like, why? Oh, okay. Again, to be somewhat fair here, is that yes, this happened, of course, in the previous seasons where the words were severely altered because of the Japanese writing when you think about it, which obviously is a shame because a lot of the context was removed, obviously. But for this one, the version for the fourth season, it just continued to censor specific things, obviously, which I just don't realize as to why this should be done. Yes, of course, I know it's a cultural thing to some things over here in America, like a lot of people won't understand. I'm just saying, come on. And yes, of course, these characters, these are some of the minions in this show, and they will become troublesome for the Sailor Scouts. And their outfits are somewhat revealing. I mean, not too much, but to some extent, they are. That was kept, and I just don't get it. Okay, that was left alone, and but the certain powers of Sailor Mars was somewhat altered as well. And then, but we can't have the lesbian couples in here, like at all. I don't get it. And of course, even the transformations were still somewhat modified, even in this season as well. Or scenes like if Usagi she wets herself in the bed. This scene was shortened. It was art to some extent, which does happen. I guess being the leader of the of this group, I mean, I shouldn't stop her from putting to bed, I guess. And of course, realistically speaking, something's bound to happen, of course, and it does happen, of course. It happens. You know, it's not me making fun of anybody, but it happens. But I could go on and on when it comes to like specific scenes like that, or the others I just mentioned. But it's just the fact that they keep altering stuff over and over again. And I know that's like one of the major things I'm keep complaining about. Yes, I realize it's the censorship or alternate, just whatever. Keep tweaking it up because for whatever reason, like their own biases, I suppose. I know like that's like the biggest thing I'm whining here, obviously. And yes, it's one of my major, I guess you can say, pet peeves I have with this stuff. I mean, yes, it's not the only show they did this to, but I'm just going to focus on this really. They've done this to other shows when it comes to Japan. Obviously, this was not the only victim that they did this to. I know that. I'm aware of that. But that aside, I just want to focus on this show. I know it's one of my biggest complaints when it comes to this kind of a thing. It's just unfortunate. Like again, this is the version a lot of people grew up with, and of course, a lot of people want to stick with this because it makes them feel more comfortable. It makes them remember a better time, or whatnot. And yes, people just flat out refuse the Japanese versions, of course. Which, yes, is something I mentioned before in one of my previous videos in regard to Sailor Moon. But that aside, it just seems ridiculous that people just won't give it a try. I mean, you might be thinking that, okay, the Japanese versions were finally released. The bad thing is that, just to let everyone know, is that it can be pretty expensive. Like, for example, let's say they want to release the Japanese version onto Blu-ray. They might have like season 1, part 1, I think season 1, part 2, and you might be have to pay a hefty price just to have those two sets. But then they also later on released a separate set for the complete fourth season, which, like I said in my previous video, I do have, and that was pretty hefty. That cost quite a bit of money, and for people who are in low income, may not have that opportunity to pay that much for either one. And yes, they did that to the season 2, season 3, so on and so forth, for however many seasons that Sailor Moon had. They did that to all of them. Even yeah, yes, even if they got it used, it's still gonna be pretty damn expensive when you think about it. It seems odd when you think about it, but okay, whatever. It's your property. You do what you want, but that's kind of a lazy excuse, of course. You can't just say you do whatever you want because some people can't afford it, even if they want to get the actual version. Even if people want to accept the actual version, it's pretty damn expensive. It's ridiculous. Ever give the people who released the Japanese version any constructive criticism, it costs too damn much when you think about it. Not everybody is so lucky to have that privilege to get that. And I mean, I'm not going to make this entire video really because that's just going off on a tangent. Really. But anyway, as for the voice acting, as I was saying earlier, as for the voice acting for the American version, it's kind of bad. Really, it's kind of bad. Really. So it's like they're trying to rush it, which often they do. They're trying to rush the dubbing in a lot of ways because they just want to get it out the way to have it air on the American televisions, of course. And I just okay, whatever. After this, by the way, folks, after I'm done here, of course, I'm gonna go to Wendy's. I'm gonna eat some more burgers and Wendy's again after this. Oh boy, I'm gonna be gaining so much weight because of this. Well, we all have our vices, I guess. It's my way of coping to deal with this garbage. Ugh. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to Wendy's. I'm still going to Wendy's after this. But okay, the the voice acting wasn't particularly great, really, like at all. And of course, due to the alterations, the continuity is going to be out of whack. In reference to the editing is not going to be very good either, really, folks. So yeah, some of the editing does come off a bit choppy. Yes, I'm not expecting like masterpiece editing in literally every single episode because there's like a lot of episodes here. There's a lot of episodes you do have to deal with, but at least put some effort in the editing. More effort in this. So it seems kind of weird that the editing seems a little weird. It seems a little wonky. I mean, it's not too much to completely ruin it, but there is a change in the pacing of the dialogue and pacing of the overall scene, the way it's done. Because, like I said, some scenes would be just shortened or just removed altogether. So, which just gets in the way of the pacing of the story, really. So, the story pacing might get out of place in that because of that, obviously. But that's the thing, though, when it comes to this kind of stuff, really. Okay, that aside, the music's fine, I guess. The music isn't too shabby, I suppose. Well, as far as worth the editing is a bit okay. The music is fine, I guess. It's manageable, I suppose. But yeah, I'm just very disappointed. I'm very disappointed in the music as well because I kind of wish that they could have restored a lot more. Is what I'm getting at in the grand scheme of things. I mean, just unfortunately, I just didn't want to keep it how it was for whatever reason. Just seems kind of odd that they try to tweak it as much as possible. Is what I'm saying here. Oh boy, let me just wrap it up here. Just okay, whatever. And by the way, folks, I don't mind talking about more anime about even if Sailor Moon or whatever. I don't know when I'm gonna get back to it. I'm just letting you know ahead of time. A slight update on that. I was just trying to get this out the way as soon as possible, like I was saying earlier in the video, because I was trying to be more frequent with this kind of stuff, really. But anyway, just thought I'd let you know. So yeah, this was not good. It was not a good version of the show, like at all. I was just miserably disappointed, really, folks. I never got a sense of the villains, really. By which I mean, why are they bad? Why do they want to be bad people? What motivated them to do what they want? I never got that real sense. That really. With Sailor Moon and her friends, I kind of did, I guess. But still, though, it's just I don't know anymore. It just seems rather weird that this way was written. Of course, two separate scripts was written for the Japanese and English one, folks, of course. So anyway, I'll give this version of the show a Novaval rating of a 4.7 out of 10. It's a 4.7 out of 10 for me. So of course, as always, thanks for watching and take care. Until next time, I guess. See ya. And like I said, I'm just going to Wendy's. Going to Wendy's again. This is just awful. Ugh. Whatever. Just